Hello everyone, welcome to Tech Sharmat. In this session, we will discuss about another medical related prefixes which is used in order to denote the information related to body part. In previous session also we have discussed the same thing with some other prefixes. So this session is in the continuation of part. Uh, this session is in the continuation of previous session. So we are taking the part 25th. So what we are going to do in this session, first of all, I'll tell you few prefixes with their actual meaning, and once it is clear, then we will move to the examples for each and every prefixes that we are discussing. Because without examples, it would be not that much of easier for us to identify the actual meaning of the medical terminology by just looking at the prefixes. Okay, so that's why first of all we will discuss about the prefix meaning and then we'll cover few examples. Now, before I start the discussion about the prefixes, let me tell you about the prefix. What is prefix? Maybe some of you are directly referring this session without referring the previous one. So just for them, I'm repeating the definition. That prefix is a word that that is used by the medical terminology at the initial part, means at the beginning, and from there it denotes some information. It could be any information, it could denote anything related to shape, size, color, body part, or anything, right? So this word which is attached at the beginning of the medical terminology is known as prefix. You got my point? Fine. Now we will start with the actual discussion with the prefixes that we have. The first prefix is cutane. Cutane. Now what is cutane? Cutane is a medical terminology prefix which is used to discuss anything related to skin. So whenever there is a discussion related to skin, then we will use the terminology cutane. Here you can see I have noted down couple of examples for cutane prefix. So these are the actual medical terminology that is using the prefix cutane. So now we will walk through each and every example and understand why we are using cutane there. The first example is cutaneous nerve. Cutaneous nerve. Now what is cutaneous nerve? A nerve that is related to or affects the skin. Okay, so whenever we are talking about any nerve which is related toward affecting the skin, then that nerve is known as cutaneous nerve. So again, we are having the discussion related to skin, that's why we are using the prefix cutane. The next example is cutaneous absorption. Cutaneous absorption. Now what is cutaneous absorption? The process of substance being absorbed through the skin. Just assume a scenario, we have applied some substance on the skin, maybe some medical, you can say some creams or anything, any substance which is applied on the skin, and after some time skin absorbed that thing. So that process is known as cutaneous absorption. And the term which is initiated which initiate this prefix which initiate this terminology is known as prefix, which is cutane. Okay, so again there is a discussion related to through the skin, that's why we are using the prefix cutane. Next example is cutaneoplasty. Cutaneoplasty. Now what is cutaneoplasty? Plastic surgery of the skin. Maybe let's say if there is a case of skin burn or any particular for any particular reason, if plastic surgery is performed on the skin for the skin, then in that case we will term it as a cutaneoplasty. Cutaneoplasty, which is initiated with the prefix cutane. Then next example is cutaneous larva migrans. Cutaneous larva migrans. What is this? A skin infection caused by the larvae of certain parasitic worms. So let's say any parasitic worms affect the skin and causes the skin infection, then this thing we will denote with the terminology cutaneous larva migrans, which is initiated with the prefix cutane. So now if you look at all the examples once again, you will find only one thing which is common among all of them, which is the skin. Because everywhere we are talking about skin, either we are talking about the nerve which is related to skin, or we are talking about the substances which is absorbed by the skin, or the plastic surgery skin, or infection related to skin. But everywhere we are talking about the skin. That's why we are using the common prefix which is cutane. Okay, so this is about the cutane prefix. Now we will move to the next prefix which is cysto or cystae. Cysto or cystae. Now what is this? It is related to bladder or sac. For some being for any particular reason, if we are discussing about, or there are some terminology which is related to the bladder, then in that case we will use the prefix cysto or cystae. Cysto or cystae. For example, you can look at the first example which is cystitis. Now what is cystitis? Inflammation of the bladder. One thing I have already told you, that whenever there is a suffix, not the prefix, suffix related to itis, then it is always related to inflammation. So whenever we want to showcase something as inflammation of the bladder, then we will use the terminology cystitis, which is which is started with the prefix cyst. Then we have cystectomy. Cystectomy. What is cystectomy? Surgical removal of the bladder. Surgical removal of by looking at all these examples, we also understand that whenever there is a discussion related to the surgical removal, we are using the suffix ectomy. Although we have not covered suffix yet, but still we have some idea that yes, whenever we found something ectomy, it means we are removing something. So cystectomy means removing of the cyst, removing of the bladder. Okay, now look at the next example which is systolith. Systolith means a stone in the bladder. So whenever there is a stone in the bladder, we will define this thing with the help of terminology systolith, and which is started with the prefix cysto. Cyst means cysto. Okay. Then next example is cystography. Cystography means surgical stitching or repairing of the bladder. For some time, for some reason being, if we are surgically repairing the bladder, then this thing we will denote with the help of cystography, which is initiated with the prefix cysto. Okay, so yeah, these are the all example which is related to cyst or cystae. I hope it is clear to all of you. And in the next prefix we have derm or dermato. Now what is derm and dermato? It is related to skin. Now there might be one question, like we have already discussed about the prefix which is related to skin. We just discussed cutane, right? So yes, there might be various alternative names for one thing. So that's not an issue. We have to learn each and everything, because these are the alternative names, and any report could use cutane for skin, any report could use derm or dermato for the skin. So it is not an issue. We have to learn all these things. Okay. So let's look at the example. First example is dermabrasion. Dermabrasion means a cosmetic procedure that involves the removal of the top layer of the skin to improve its appearance. So whenever a process a cosmetic procedure is performed to remove the upper layer or top layer of the skin, then this thing we will denote with the help of terminology dermabrasion, which is started with the prefix derma. Then we have dermitis. Dermitis means inflammation of the skin. For some medical issues reason, if the skin is inflamed, then in that case we will use the terminology dermitis. Dermitis. Okay. The next example is dermatoglyphics. Dermatoglyphics means the study of the patterns of the skin ridges on the fingers, palm, toes, and soles is denoted with the terminology dermatoglyphics, and it is started with the prefix dermato, which is again related to skin. So if you are studying about skin, it is denoted with the prefix dermato. Likewise, if you look at the fourth example, which is dermatographism. Dermatographism means a condition in which lightly scratching the skin cause it become raised and red for some reason. Okay, some people are suffering from this thing, that whenever they lightly scratch their skin, it got raised and red. Then this thing is known as dermatographism. Dermatographism. Okay. So yeah, these are the three prefixes which I would like to share with you all in this session, which is cutane for skin, cyst or cystic for bladder and sac, and derm or dermata for skin. So for today, we have only one question. What information is provided by the prefix koron and coast? I request you to share your knowledge in the comment section so that others can take a reference from it. And if you have any difficulty in this answer, then please check out the previous session. There we have already discussed them in detail. So yeah, that's all for today. In the next session, we will discuss few more things. So thank you for watching TechSharmit.